We are on top of more breaking news. A small plane crashed into a field in Snohomish County, killing all people on board. We have team coverage. Frankie Thompson is digging into the details of what the owners of this plane were doing leading up to the crash.
First, we head out to AJ Janival, who is near the scene of that crash. AJ, what are you hearing from first responders and witnesses so far?
Brian, hours later, you can see that scene here behind me in that field where that plane went down. Where we're standing is just a couple miles away from Harvey Field, a small airport outside of Snohomish. Where we're standing as well is there's a few homes. I spoke to a person who lives right in one of these homes who ran out to try and help the people involved in this crash.
The only evidence of a plane crash in this field off of Highway 2 is the smoke rising from the debris.
Walked out about 150, 200 yards to a burning wreckage of awfulness. Black smoke. The tires were exploding by that point.
Mike Creasy tells us he looked out his window this morning and could see the flames. Creasy says he went down to help any survivors, but realized that would not be the case.
It looked like something you'd never survive. The front end was completely smashed to smithereens and gone. There was one piece of landing gear up in the air and one wing and a little bit of the tail, and that was about it.
Creasy tells us he couldn't even get close to the wreckage because the flames felt so hot.
Extremely intense. I've been a firefighter my whole career, but as the metals and the plastics and the fuel are burning it.
Officials telling us 2 people have died in the crash. Several different agencies responded to the plane crash. Now crews tell us they are waiting for the NTSB and FAA to begin their investigation.
Brian, Hannah, what investigators are saying is where that plane actually went down is pretty rough terrain. They've had a hard time getting back and forth to where that crash actually happened. They tell us they will be out here for quite some time. There are so many questions that still remain, namely, what caused this plane to go down? Reporting live in Snohomish County, I'm AJ Janival for Fox 13 News.
Thank you, AJ. And team coverage continues now with Fox 13's Frankie Thompson, who has been poring over radar information and FAA databases to find out a little bit more about this plane and what it was doing in the days leading up to this fatal crash.
So, Frankie, what have you been able to learn so far?
Yes, Hannah and Brian, the 2021 Cessna 208 Grand Caravan took off from here at Renton Municipal Airport, and it was on direct line towards Everett, but then the flight path changed. The aviation website FlightAware recorded the Cessna's final flight from takeoff at 9:24 this morning. The plane climbed steadily through 9,000 feet until around 9:45, when it began making the first of several seemingly aimless turns. The circling continues throughout the remainder of the flight, with the plane's airspeed rising and falling between 76 miles and 185 miles an hour. The last data shows the plane at 9,100 feet and 92 miles an hour before it drops off the record around 10:19 a.m. The plane has been flying out of Renton Municipal Airport all week, trips varying in duration between 30 minutes and 3.5 hours, with 3 flights made on Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday, and 2 Thursday before today's final flight. The aircraft in the deadly crash is similar to this one, a Cessna 208B Grand Caravan EX. This model can hold up to 14 passengers. Textron Aviation, the maker, says this is a rugged all-purpose aircraft that can adapt to harsh terrain and used for a variety of things, including cargo, passenger, and recreation like parachuting. According to the Flight Safety Foundation and the Aviation Safety Network database, there have been 37 incidents this year involving the Cessna 208 worldwide, including this crash. 12 of those 37 incidents were in the U.S., 3 of them deadly. The Federal Aviation Administration shows the plane was owned and registered to a company in Alaska. Now the question is, who was on board and why were they in Washington? We have reached out to everyone who was listed as a possible owner of that plane to learn more about who was on board and their travels here in Washington. Once we learn more about that information, we will be sure to give you those details on air and online at fox13seattle.com. Reporting live in Renton, Frankie Thompson, Fox 13 News.